Dr. Gerrard Shaw is a Nyungar Whadjuk man and cultural keeper. Gerrard obtained his Masters and PhD at Murdoch University, writing about the reclamation of his Aboriginality and true events in the lives of his ancestors. Thank you.
Thank you. To Ron, yes, Ron Blond here. Thank you, Ron. Well, we've been listening to some very beautiful stories, very enriching words. As Ron just mentioned, I am a Whadjuk Balladong Yuid Nyungar. They're my credentials, and I can make claim to those things through my grandmother, Victoria Blurton. That connects me to the Balladong people. My mother was born at Cataby, which is near Nunorcia, and that connects me to the Yuid country. It seems to me every Australian Aboriginal person has been affected in some way or other by past policies. And, you know, there's issues of Aboriginal deaths in custody, stolen wages, stolen children. And that's the one that I can identify with very strongly. I've been on that journey for most of my life. I think we'll find a statement in the Aboriginal Deaths in Custody Royal Commission that if an Aboriginal child denies his or her identity, bad things will follow. And because I was removed from my own family, I was prevented from knowing who I was or where I'd come from. And it's pretty much the story of every person who identifies with the stolen generations, plural. And in the past, governments have attempted to address these issues through royal commissions, even apologies, reports and inquiries, but that's as far as those things go. And I think the voice for us, as Cindy was saying, it allows us to urge the government to go beyond words and to do something about these past injuries that have been caused. I was delighted that Ron mentioned Joondalup. I feel very close to the city of Fremantle. I'm part of the Joondalup elders group there, and I also was interested when Fitzroy Crossing was mentioned, that country up there. There's Uncle Jack Shaw, who is connected. So when you realise that you're of Aboriginal descent, you're never alone. You're never alone. But the reference to the Aboriginal deaths in custody in that statement, if a child denies their identity, bad things will follow. That was certainly true for me, as Ron referred to. But for the last 20 years or so, and it's thanks very much to Auntie Marie, who was mentioned, she is my niece, we are all connected. She was the one who welcomed me home, and it took me, as you said, she took me under her wing too, and she was for me in those early years, my elder, the one to guide me and teach me, and she took me along to Joondalup, to the first elders meeting there, and I can only speak highly of Whadjuk because there was, first of all, the Mayor, Brad Pettit, who initiated a lot of things, changing the date of the Australia Day, which is a very courageous thing to do. And now the Mayor, Hannah. These are people who have allowed Nyungar people to have a voice, to speak about things like that can inform the broader community of the wealth of cultural stories, Dreamtime stories that fill all that whole area around Fremantle. And I was interested to hear you talk about the Wetland Centre. I think we might have met there, that's right. I delivered my full story there on the stolen generations, sharing a little bit of my life. But you see, the big challenge is you can never recapture those lost years. And I think it was an example of that was when my older brother, who is actually my elder, and before I do any welcomes here in and around Perth, I've got to ask his permission, you see, and he's more than happy for me to do whatever I can do. Yes, Louisa was hoping that he would have turned up to that day, the open day, but they got lost. But just a couple of years ago, we had a shore reunion, and we were privileged enough to have Len Collard there. And it was a small group of people. And my older brother was there, and he, for the first time, embraced me. Now, we've been reunited for some years now, but that was the first time he could actually embrace me. And it was a beautiful moment. I felt owned by him, just as I had felt owned by Auntie Marie and all the Collards. They've all taken ownership of me and given me something that I didn't have, that is an identity and knowing who I am and where I come from. That's something everyone needs to know and should never be prevented from finding those things out, because bad things will happen. I think I will leave it there for the moment.
I feel cheeky calling you by your first name, so I'll make sure I call you Uncle. Uncle, yours has been a journey and a half, of course. You've found your family through the nature of your journey and connecting with countrymen. What would you suggest to those who are here but aren't necessarily Aboriginal people trying to find a connection to this place for themselves?
It's a good question. I think you have to look within. Would you agree with that? It's there within. You've got to... And I love the way you said you felt called by country. That piece of country is calling you as the country back home. And I think it's moments of awareness, of realisation that happen, but then we need to act on that dawning and follow it through. And if it's meant to be, it will take shape. Yeah, well, I think that's the important point, is that applies to everyone, knowing who you are and where you come from. And I'm sure there's a lot of stories that can be told of people who aren't Aboriginal descent, but who have been affected by past policies. I remember the time my mother, by the way, the 1905 Act, gave Mr. Neville control over all Aboriginal children, and I do actually thank him for his good work, because he kept a record of every word that was spoken by every person that he was dealing with, and so I was able to do research, working through all these files. I've got them all at home at the moment, crates of them actually. He kept every letter written, every word spoken, and that's right. At that time, there was for all white women, women who had children who weren't married. You see, it was regarded as a great shame, a disgrace. And with Mr. Neville, he sent all the Nyungar women to work as slaves, all in the wheat belt area, and then accused these women of neglect, not looking after their children. Well, how could they? They've been sent all over the state. I'm not sure if that kind of answers your question, but I think the key thing is looking within, taking time to reflect. See, we live in a world today, especially, where we're in a rush, you see, and I think it's that taking time to reflect. Like, it was a moment of grace, really, when I realised, all that had happened in my life, this is not right. That prompted me then to, but it was also instrumental. Someone took me to meet Auntie Marie, and her words to me were, "Welcome home, Uncle," and those words were just beautiful words to hear. And she is the one who got me to study at Murdoch, so I could meet Mort family, and that's when the journey started, and it's still going on. Thank you for listening to me anyway.
Thank you, boss.